Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, this roulette wheel of like, is it going to be audio problems to start the show? It's just always fun. 99% of the time it is me, but when it's you, Dave, I celebrate. It's like, it's not me.
Yeah, my PC's been doing this thing lately where I never really turn it off, which is probably bad. I do. It does go to sleep. It does all that stuff and hibernates, but I never really shut it down, which affects updates and all that fun stuff. But so for some reason, like I can be down here, like today's Wednesday. I can be down Tuesday playing a game, talking to some friends on Discord. Come down here today, haven't touched anything or changed anything, and I get no audio.
Yeah, no.
So then I restart the computer, and then I get audio.
Yeah, and my thing is like I haven't updated Audacity in like 5 years. Because I heard of how shitty Audacity is once you update it, and like now I had to update it like last month, and it's been hell ever since. Every week it's just like, oh, what microphone that doesn't exist are you thinking I'm using right now? But we were able to figure it out. It was me this week. We'll just keep a tally for the rest of the year. See what that looks like.
Put a little like a whiteboard behind me.
Yeah, just something. Just like Swick issues, Dave issues, Swick.
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services. You can also watch us live on YouTube or Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. You can subscribe on YouTube for free. You can follow on Twitch for free. You can leave reviews on podcast services for free. You can subscribe to us on Twitch if you so choose. You can use just a paid subscription, or you can link it with your Amazon Prime account. Get Twitch Gaming, get a bunch of cool gaming perks, as well as a free subscription to a streamer of your choice. So please consider that on us. Or you can also visit Patreon, patreon.com/Digital Days Gaming, if you want to support us monetarily that way. So multiple ways for you to support any way you see fit. The ultimate support is listening, downloading, and interacting with the community. That's the number one thing. Everything else is just icing on the cake. So if you're able to do any of that or willing to do any of those above and beyond just listening to the show and being part of the community, you're awesome and appreciated, and we thank you. And with that, we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, pretty light news this week. There were, of course, several studios laying off people, but at a certain point, it's kind of tough to continue covering all that stuff. So we have a little more curated list this week for news. The first story that we have is PlayStation Showcase or State of Play is possible for May. So this is coming from Jeff Grubb. That PlayStation is planning one of their streaming events for May. According to Grubb, he's leaning towards it being a showcase, because that would line up with their previous showcases that usually happen in May, usually towards the end of the month. Mm-hmm. Adding fuel to this fire, Silent Hill recently has been rated in several countries, including in the US by the ESRB, which, of course, that game is PlayStation exclusive. But it'll be out on PC.
Console exclusive. Yeah, console, yeah.
And it's one of those deals where it's like PlayStation might be kind of co-funding that to a certain extent. Right. Usually that's how they lock down these deals. So that would make sense that would be your big marquee game for the showcase. The showcases are usually those 90 minutes, like here's like 30 to 40 games. And PlayStation already said before, like, don't expect any big first-party stuff from us this year.
Did you just say 30 to 40 games?
Yeah, I believe the last one was like 30 games. I would have to look it up, but yeah, the last showcase was like 30 games. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're due to talk about something. We don't really know the second half of this year from PlayStation very much at all. So they're, free, I can't think of the names. I keep losing the names. Concord, as well as
Fair Games, Dave. Fair Games every week. Yeah, Fair Games.
Free. I keep thinking Free Cycle or something like that. Fair Games. They really need to get those out. This would be a great time to shadow drop one of those. If you kind of say play it right after the showcase, depending on how far along they are, considering the tumultuousness of their games as a service currently, Bungie included.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Bungie would get a spot in that showcase
with as close to Final Shape coming out in June 4th, and 100%.
How much time do you waste on that?
Launch,
that isn't just
5 minutes. It's just a launch trailer for Final Shape.
Yeah.
Because Final Shape comes out June 4th.
Because Bungie would just want to do their own presentation, which they're doing next week, right? I believe.
They're showing a half an hour gameplay of the Final Shape. They just got done. Yeah, they just got done with 3 1-hour streams 3 weeks in a row for Into the Light, which is something that comes out April 9th. And then on April 9th, they're going to, at like 9:30 Pacific, they're going to do Final Shape gameplay, like that appears to be a half an hour. And then right at 10 o'clock, they're doing the Into the Light trailer when Into the Light launches.
Yeah.
So at 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern. So, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, at this point in time, I don't expect to see like Wolverine, right?
No,
for this holiday, like
as far as I know, that Insomniac Spider-Man 2 DLC, that rumor hasn't been completely squashed, and I can see them.
It sounds like it's data mined into the game after the new game plus.
Yeah, something about a beetle, which just could be like a code name or something. So I can imagine. I don't think they would shadow drop that. I think they would try and push that out like Miles Morales, of just like, hey, it's a standalone disc.
Yeah, I think it'd be like August, September, October if it's like that 3-pack like they did with the first one.
Yeah. Which was pretty good content.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. And then in October you get like the Game of the Year edition after all 3 packs are out.
Yeah,
you know that somebody could buy.
That'd probably be the safest thing, and I can see them dropping like an Astrobot game in there because it's been since the launch for Astrobot, so that could be a place to go. But I don't think there's going to be any surprises. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Bend will release info on their stuff."
If we see anything from Bend, I think we see a teaser trailer of what they're working on.
I don't think we would get like a full gameplay of anything. I think it would be a teaser.
Yeah. So and then
Blue Point
maybe, but I was gonna say maybe a teaser for Sony Santa Monica.
Yeah, I could see that being far enough because it sounds like they were split off into 2 teams a while ago.
Right. Yeah.
So, Blue Point, I feel like was about 2 years ago. They're like, we're working on our most ambitious game, and that could be anything really.
Yeah.
So they could be ready, but PlayStation did say like, don't expect any like major IPs.
Marquee.
Yeah, marquee.
Yeah. So Blue
IPs.
Point. I mean, at this point in time, is Blue Point remaking what Sony would consider to be a major IP?
That's what I would imagine like if Blue Point's like, hey, this is our most ambitious thing, and they've kind of done like not like just the step below marquee. I would wonder,
is this a point where we see something that Housemarque's working on too?
I forgot that they're owned by PlayStation, to be honest. And I think it would be time for them
4
to do
years out from Returnal, probably maybe 3.5, 4 years.
Yeah, I could see them pushing stuff out, and they definitely had said like, we're no longer like this, we're not going to go back to like the smaller games. So like I could see them pushing something out.
Or we see Guerrillas. What do you call it? Like we see Guerrillas teasing of their Horizon MMO or showing that.
Yeah, something like that.
Should be pretty far in development.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. Like at this point in time, Sony could, the way that their state of the game industry is right now, like a Resogun remaster isn't out of the question.
Yeah, no, if they want to do something like that, they definitely could. Because I think that realistically, like anything major announced from like their first party studios is coming out 2025, 2026 at the earliest. So if you're PlayStation, you almost would have to release some smaller titles somehow, some way, which would be Spider-Man expansion DLC. Maybe Housemarque. They don't like Returnal was like. It was AAA in terms of production, but it was still a smaller game.
They could get like a twin stick style thing out that would look amazing.
Yeah, I mean they could probably get out another Returnal style game because Returnal was linear enough. Like you were kind of just going into arenas. The only thing that blew everyone, like it blew me away, is just like their production value like jumped significantly. So if they're able to keep that production value up and keep the game's size and scope in that spot, that could work out.
Yeah.
But I would imagine nothing announced is coming this year.
I also think they have to be careful though, because I mean, like they can't just. They need to show something that's coming out in the next 6 to 9 months max. From them directly, and we could rattle off. Oh, maybe Bend will talk, and maybe Sucker Punch will talk, and maybe Santa Monica will talk, and maybe Guerrilla will talk, but like. Nothing of those 4 is coming out in the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, the only one that realistically would be Sucker Punch because it's been so long since their game, but I don't believe that they have anything ready.
Not unless it's like an Infamous package remake or something.
Yeah, something like
like
that.
an Infamous
Or
remaster
they're
or
they're
something.
just like, hey, we were quiet. The thing we were talking about Bungie needs to do next after Marathon is just like be quiet and release
Shut it
something.
down. Yeah.
And like they've had enough time that wouldn't be unrealistic. But if you're PlayStation, you probably are like, hey, it's a Sucker Punch game. We're going to do a year of marketing leading up to this because this is big. So they might have to lean on some of those like live service games just to get them out, or look at like Bend, because I would put Bend and Housemarque kind of in the same like stratosphere.
Well,
right now.
it's not Days Gone 2.
No, it's not Days Gone 2.
Yeah.
But
So,
if they did a siphon filter or something, that would make sense.
I almost said Splinter Cell. So
but like because that would be a more linear thing. Though a PlayStation partnering with Konami for Metal Gear Solid, I feel like that's like one of those things where it's just like Konami might feel a little hurt by that.
Right.
It's probably going to just be VR games. They better, like, if they mention VR during a showcase, it better be...
And PC.
No. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It better be compatible with PC today. Like, they just patch it, drop it, and just go for it. But yeah, I'm excited for a PlayStation showcase. Like, I feel like Xbox is done with showcases for the year. There'll probably be something during Summer Games Fest. Like, I think they already said.
I think they'll have another developer direct or whatever they call it.
Yeah. But like a big showcase, I just don't know if Microsoft needs that right now. They don't really need to announce any new games. They need to get the shit that they already announced out.
Well, Hellblade's supposed to be like 6 weeks out, right?
Yeah. Hellblade is early summer or whatever, like May.
I think it's May. Yeah. Okay.
So
Hellblade 2. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll probably see something from Xbox eventually, and Nintendo just kind of does whatever they want, which will probably be the console announcement at that point.
Yeah. We'll go to sleep on tonight and wake up to a direct tomorrow morning.
Basically. Be like, hey, Switch 2's out. Here's a trailer. People on a rooftop playing it. And you're just like, cool.
Yeah.
So that's PlayStation's potential plans coming for May. The next one is Ubisoft. We're in that season where everyone's announcing like their plans for the summer. Ubisoft.
Hey, we don't have anything for 10 weeks to talk about, so leave us alone.
Yeah, please stop. The fiscal year is over. We're starting fresh. Leave us alone for a little bit. So Ubisoft confirms that they're doing a forward event this summer. They're going to do it during Summer Game Fest, which is June 10th. Sounds like it's going to be in person as well as the usual live stream influencer stuff. But yeah, that is going to be Ubisoft's plans. This is another thing where we could probably talk a little bit about predictions, because they're a company that like have a lot of stuff already announced that they just need to get out the door. We'll talk about one of those games later in what's delayed. But what are your expectations of this? And if it isn't the Division Heartland.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say like the alleged Division 3, Division Heartland, Division Mobile are all on the table.
Yeah, they've had to have scrapped one of those. There's no way they can have three. Heartland probably turned into 3.
Yes, I would be more because I about to say I'm trying to remember if I played. This is how long it's been. I'm trying to remember if I played or if I just saw a bunch of gameplay from the mobile version and I had the interviews and everything. And I'm also getting those mixed with X Defiant.
Yes.
We're also due for another Far Cry.
We are. It's been a bit of time, and it's weird. Like they're re-releasing Blood Dragon on disc, which I almost feel like that's.
Well, it's like the 30th anniversary of Far Cry or something.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year.
So there has to be at least a teaser for Far Cry.
Whether that's like a remake, like a full remastering of 3, which is like I didn't really play much or any of 3, but it's arguably like supposedly like the best one.
It had the big villain twist. That's what set the franchise up.
Right.
Because 1 and 2 are
in the
rough
direction
play.
it was going. Right. So. I don't know in terms of that, as well as we're due, at this point in time we're due for I can't think of the name, but the Star Wars game with the little puppet or the little pet.
I forgot they have a Star Wars game. Yeah.
And that I assume would be their holiday, their October-November game at this point in time because we saw it last summer.
If it's that far along, but Ubisoft's pretty good at getting shit. Well, they used to be pretty good at getting shit out the door. So I forgot that they have a Star Wars game, and you'd probably want to do this now since Respawn's next Star Wars game will probably be next year, and you probably want to get out of the way of that.
Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah. And that looked pretty far along from the trailers that we saw.
So I would think that would be their marquee title this holiday. So, we would see that there. I think they still need to either address or talk about the Prince of Persia remake.
Yeah.
Because the side scroller was not a replacement of that. It was a band-aid, it was a bridge between the two of them.
Though that was so good and got a lot of
right.
attention, I can see them going to the Prince of Persia team of like head down and like do something that can match.
And
this.
I don't want it, but it's been a long time since we've seen it. We're due some type of Ghost Recon game too.
Yeah, I that too. I don't think they touch any. Like,
hopefully away from the looter service model, because that's not working for Breakpoint.
No.
Ghost Recon. So.
And they also have to still figure out if like they can do Rainbow Six anymore, because anytime they attempt to, they just get immediately reminded of like, no, Rainbow Six Siege is still great and people still prefer that.
I would still love a PvE, like a fun tactical PvE Rainbow Six. Like
Extraction wasn't it. Extraction wasn't it.
No, but I mean, whatever I saw, I feel like it's like one of my first E3s was like Rainbow Six Patriot or something.
Oh yeah, like, the one where like the teaser was like him kicking down the White House door or something. Yeah.
Like it was like that's I want like against like I want to take 3 or 4 of my buddies and strategically figure out something against like.
How would you
feel
if they were just like, hey, here's Rainbow Six Vegas?
Yeah,
like remastered.
I didn't really play any of those things.
But that's exactly what you're
10 or 15.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, like Rainbow Six Vegas. Yeah, so like that kind of thing where I enjoy like the few times I mess around with Rainbow Six. It's been multiple years since I've done it, but as a first person fan now, like that feels great. Like the ability to lean and to crawl and to use the gadgets and the bots, and similar to like what Ghost Recon was giving us, but only in Ghost Recon was in a third person thing. I really would like to see Rainbow Six, but at the same time, or some type of Rainbow Six PV, player versus environment style game. But at the same time, I understand that team is working on arguably the most successful esport competitive game out there right now.
Yeah, and it's some new streamers got into that game recently, or some popular streamers, so it's getting another resurgence.
Yeah.
Do you see them getting into the Marvel business since they're already into Star Wars business?
I don't think so. With the financial shape that they've had some struggles with, and some of the challenges that they're being faced with. I mean, at this point in time, if they were doing it, I think we would have heard about it.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that they could get into the Marvel business, even if it just is like they look at the Prince of Persia, the side scrolling one, and are like, can we Marvelize this somehow?
Maybe,
or can we Star Wars this Prince of Persia thing and make this a thing that like we can like milk for a little bit while we get the proper Prince of Persia going.
Yeah, I could totally see some Rayman remakes and stuff too being shoveled out.
Yeah, it's been a while for Rabbids, right? Outside of like the Mario crossover.
Outside of the Mario stuff. Yeah.
Do you think they put some effort, like in Ubisoft tradition, you put out a live service game that bombs and then you reiterate on it? Do you think Skull and Bones gets some TLC?
Yeah, I think they're pretty committed to that for whatever reason, and I'll talk about it a little bit in the playing and watching. But I have a plethora of library that I try to start playing, and I can't. It's just nothing's sinking its teeth into me, and I don't really think it's a Skull and Bones issue. I think it's a me issue.
Might be a Skull and Bones issues, because I was into playing some games a little bit ago, and I tried Skull and Bones, and I was like, nah, this is not it for me.
No, I haven't played it enough to give it a Skull and Bones issue.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, so that's Ubisoft's plans. I like that we're, right around is the time where we would start getting an idea of what the summer is going to look like, and then we're going to get some surprises along the way. It's going to be a weird year because I don't think the next 2-3 years are going to be interesting, because I don't think there's a lot of first-party stuff for the console makers to come out this year. Microsoft has some stuff, but I don't think Indiana Jones is going to be that big a deal. And then I also don't know if there's any like third-party gigantic stuff coming out this year, and I think everyone's
for 25 or for 24. I'm sorry, everything's been saying 25,
and even then, I feel like you put an asterisk there until we know what Rockstar is doing with Grand Theft Auto, because everyone will get out of the way of Grand Theft Auto. So we might be in like a limbo period until we see them make a move. And there's been reports that like Grand Theft Auto might be slightly delayed because they're reshuffling their organization in terms of,
which means that these companies might try to rush to get in front of it.
Yeah, and their current thing is they basically have told all the remote employees, like, you are working in the office because we do not want shit to leak right now, and that has caused a lot of disruption because they hired a lot of people to work from home that now have to figure out how to like go into an office, especially when you're talking about like a company where they hired people globally. So that apparently is what's causing delays with the next Grand Theft Auto, is because now they have to like figure out how to have people in office.
Stop developing for a month to bring everybody to relocate people.
Yeah. So it's just like, do you want the potential of it to leak and let people work from home and then be on time, or do you want to delay everything while you try and force everyone to come to an office? And stuff will still leak anyway, so it's like one of those things where it's like it's not going to matter. Stuff's going to come out. So I think that's going to be like a big thing in terms of everyone's going to be waiting. Like, when is Grand Theft Auto 6 going to pick a date, and what impact that's going to have on the industry in terms of stuff getting out of its way? And then also you have to assume, if Grand Theft Auto gets announced for like, hey, September 2025, you're not releasing something in October because you're just like, there's no point. Like, it's one of those big franchises that it's just going to cause like a crater that you're just not going to want to be anywhere near. You're not going to want to be a couple weeks in front of it or a couple weeks behind it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Grand Theft Auto, Take-Two bought Gearbox from Embracer Group. So Take-Two secured a deal to acquire Embracer Group for $460 million in Take-Two stock. Take-Two will receive Gearbox Software, Gearbox Montreal, Gearbox Quebec, along with the Borderlands, Tiny Tina, and Duke Nukem IPs. I believe there's like one or two other IPs of games that I forgot Gearbox owns in there. Take-Two also confirmed that a Borderlands game is already in development. Not shocking, but I like that they just, with this announcement, were like, don't worry, they're making fucking Borderlands. Embracer is keeping Gearbox Publishing and the studios and IPs associated with that branch of Gearbox, which is a weird move. It'll be renamed, obviously, but it's just, it is what it is for that. And just as a reminder, so Gearbox was acquired by Embracer for $1.3 billion, which a lot of people are jumping on that number and then looking at like what Take-Two bought Gearbox for, but because of the split and because of what was actually used to acquire it, kind of probably evens out a little bit, maybe a little bit of a loss, but not too much. Dave, we love acquisitions. It's kind of funny watching some of this stuff go down.
Just Embracer's crumbling.
Yeah,
like it's just
fire sale.
This is almost as bad as THQ, like in the mid 2010s.
Yeah.
Like it's to buy a company in 2021 for 1.3 billion and sell it for 460. Sure, you didn't sell the whole thing, but you sold the most important IPs.
Yeah,
the most important IP, and then two other IPs. I didn't even put it together that they had Duke Nukem.
Yeah, they're really proud of that for some reason. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? It's an established thing. We're in a time where there could be a Duke Nukem TV show, or something like ironic.
And I think it's good / fine that there's another Borderlands coming. I assume it's going to just be Borderlands 4, and just on brand and name recognition alone, it'll sell.
Yeah,
like
and it's they named Tiny Tina as its own franchise, which I thought was interesting because, as far as I know, none of my friends that like Borderlands like Tiny Tina, but it must have sold.
A lot of people like Tiny Tina.
Yeah. The one thing though, I think is smart by Embracer. They got the $460 million in Take-Two stock, which Take-Two is releasing Grand Theft Auto in the next year or two, so that stock is going to skyrocket. It's probably Embracer has shown that they are not financially responsible, so it's probably good they didn't get cash, because who knows what they would have done with that. And this way, they're getting like stock value that, in theory, shouldn't go down in value.
Right.
It is only likely to increase. Is it going to increase so much that it's $1.3 billion? Unlikely, but it could probably get a third of the way there once Grand Theft Auto releases, and then you'll probably hear Gearbox or Embracer sold like all the stock.
Right, at like sell it high or whatever, and then take the cash and spend it. I'm surprised that the Embracer hasn't sold Tomb Raider yet.
So there was reports that Amazon, they made a deal with Amazon
for publishing.
But I don't know if they can sell Crystal Dynamics, because Crystal Dynamics has so many contracts with Microsoft right now. I think they're working on 2 Microsoft games.
Okay.
They're working on Perfect Dark and I believe there was reports that they're working on the Fable game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chance that like they probably want to sell Crystal Dynamics and they just can't because it's just too complicated of a sale at that point. And Microsoft can't really acquire anybody right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting just watching, I at this point in time, I don't know what marquee flags Embracer has left.
That is a good question, Dave. Well, they
like marquee, like Take-Two or Gearbox was a big deal. The other, I mean, Saban Interactive to us wasn't a big deal, but I think it was a big deal to some other people. What happened with Warhammer though? Did I see some stuff this week with Warhammer?
God. Well, technically, Saber's working on Warhammer.
Yeah, I said Saban, but Saber.
Saban's the Power Rangers, Saban.
Yeah. So Saban.
There's a lot of Warhammer articles, but they don't really seem.
Yeah, I thought I saw more layoffs or something. I don't remember.
Probably there's been a lot. I'm right now. I'm looking through. Of course, they still own THQ Nordic, but in terms of things from THQ Nordic that people would give a shit. The sad thing is they still own Dark Horse, which is the comic book company, which is like,
right.
God, please don't destroy that. They own Flying Wild Hog, which made some decent games. They own Deep Silver. They still own Deep Silver.
Oh, okay. That's not as big of a deal as it was 5 years ago.
No, it definitely is not. Dave, I'm just trying to list names off. They own Limited Run Games for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, they don't really have. They own Aspire, who like PlayStation was like, please get them away.
I guess at this point in time, do they still have Darksiders?
Ooh, that is a good question. Who would have been on Darksiders? I think they technically still own Darksiders. They own Square Enix Montreal still, I believe.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Oh no, Nordic.
Yeah,
Games.
so THQ Nordic. So yeah, they still own Darksiders.
It says the company's assets were sold at auction, excluding Visual Games, which was shut down along with the parent company THQ. Darksiders was purchased by Nordic Games in the final transaction of THQ. That's so confusing.
Yeah, so yeah, they own Nordic, so they still have that. Yeah, so they own a lot of like small stuff. Like I don't see them being a viable company with any of these assets. Deep Silver and Dark Horse are probably like their biggest things they own. And as you mentioned, when the sound you made when I mentioned Deep Silver says enough about that. So yeah,
Roblox and the Roblox experience. Welcome to Bloxburg.
Did you just hit another ad or something?
No, THQ Embracer Group. List of franchises owned by Embracer Group, the parent company of THQ Nordic.
Do they
Deep
own
Silver,
one of the games in
Milestone.
Roblox? That would be hilarious if they have
Coffee Stain Holding, Saber Interactive, not true anymore. Deca Games, Gearbox Software, not true anymore. Asmodee, Dark Horse Comics, like you mentioned, and then it goes, and the Roblox experience. Welcome to Bloxburg.
Oh, so it's a game within the Roblox ecosystem. That's kind of wild that they like put that as an asset, something that's in Roblox, but it must do well for them if that's what they have. But yeah, no, it is. I don't know if there's many parts for people to pick off from Embracer that will be enough to save them as a company or whatever they are. Like I just hope Dark Horse and Crystal Dynamics can get out alive. Though, if honestly, Crystal Dynamics would be one of those things where if Embracer Group tomorrow says, "Hey, we're shutting down," a new studio in the building Crystal Dynamics currently will be formed, and that studio will survive. That way, only with a new name, unless they can buy their freedom, like some companies have already been doing, depending on if they can buy their freedom while also having several contracts with like different publishers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, Gearbox gonna be doing Borderlands still, which makes sense though that Take-Two is the one that acquired them, because there was also
they've been publishing them before.
Yeah, that's what
thing, right?
I was gonna get to. Is like there was like some weird thing where like Take-Two still had the publishing rights for it, like right to refusal type of deal. Where if they were gonna make a Borderlands game, they would still have to work with Take-Two. So this just makes that easier for Take-Two to.
Who owns the Mafia franchise now?
Take-Two.
I think it's Take-Two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
they still have like Bully and everything technically, right?
Yeah, because that's under Rockstar. Yeah, and then they have table tennis for that, and they have like Manhunt. There's a lot of like dead IP that Rockstar is sitting on, but they're just the.
Don't they still owe PlayStation like a Thief game?
They owe them Agent, and they also owe them BioShock PSP. They owe them a lot. I think there's a Grand Theft Auto that should be on PSP as well. That
they'll put like an Agent expansion in GTA 6, PlayStation only or something.
Man, I'm still waiting for like stories on that. Like I think there's been enough stuff about Agent of just like it didn't exist like the week prior to that announcement. Sort of thing.
Schreier's got another book coming out this fall.
Mm-hmm, yeah, does he have two? Like one's on Activision Blizzard exclusively, right? Or is that the book?
Well, I think both of his books are chapter dependent on. I don't think he's done something on Activision Blizzard.
I think
he's done major feature articles, but there is some stuff that he has coming out that. If he holds true to course, like each chapter was dedicated to a studio.
Yeah, no, I could have sworn I saw him advertising I
think that's the one that's coming out this fall.
Yeah, Play Nice, The Story of Blizzard. Yeah, so he does have...
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think it turned into, like, hey, this is just going to be about Blizzard because of where that went. But yeah, Gearbox. Cool, I guess. But that's all I had for news. Dave, if you want to tell us what's delayed.
All right, I didn't see this. So apparently X Defiant has been delayed again. Expected in March, but delayed due to one more 12-hour stress test in the near future. Yeah.
So a little background on this. It was never announced to consumers that it's coming out in March. It was them saying it will be released before the financial fiscal year ends or whatever. And they didn't hit that. And then when people pointed out on Twitter, like, hey, your financial report to investors said the game's coming out soon. They basically did the classic image on Twitter being like, hey, we're sorry, but the game's going to be delayed. But don't worry, we're doing a 12-hour stress test in the near future. And hopefully we'll get enough feedback to make a great game. Fuck, dude, this game.
Yeah.
It failed QA. It was going to come out in October. It failed certification from the console manufacturers. And then they're like, we're going back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I just wonder if it has, if like Heartland or something like that, Division Heartland has similar code, and they're like, nope, don't even try.
It's weird though, because like X Defiant, I mean, it's internet weirdos that basically like have put this game on a pedestal of like, this is going to be the Call of Duty killer.
Oh, their Discord is crazy.
It has. I played the alpha, the beta, and I was like, this is kind of mid. This is kind of like whatever. Like it has some interesting things, but I was like, this kind of is nothing.
I agree. I liked what we were like. I was like, okay, this is a good foundation. Now can they evolve and grow this? And
everything felt like
the
second placeholder.
Yeah. So,
but the fact that what that beta and alpha has led to diehard fans of this game before it exists fully is just wild to me. And the idea that like 6 months ago they're like, hey, we just submitted certification, which usually means it passes certification, you can start printing discs. It failed certification, which isn't PlayStation and Xbox. I don't know if it was PlayStation or Xbox that failed it.
It's not a death penalty.
Yeah, it's not a death penalty, and it's not anything usually related to the game. It's does your shit turn on? And does it work with our feature set?
Does it make my system go boom?
Yeah. And it failed. Usually when sub fails cert, it like you'll hear the devs, you'll hear indie devs be like, oh yeah, I got to do a quick patch and then we're good. Or you sign a contract with PlayStation or Xbox being like, we will fix these things day one with the patch. And Ubisoft was just like, shit, going back to the drawing board. And since then, it's been like, hey, we're coming out in a month. No, we're not. Hey, we're coming out in a month. No, we're not.
if they release Skull and Bones, though, they'll release this. It just might be a minute, but they'll get it.
They'll get it. But with the story from earlier, at a certain point, do they just wait until the Ubisoft Forward and just drop it
Shadow
that day?
drop it or whatever. Yeah.
Like, because you can't put out another release date for this, right? Like,
I don't think so. I think they just got to be like, all right, it's coming out next week. If you do anything, like,
yeah,
you just have another alpha, and at the end of the alpha, like, hey, okay, we're going live in 10 days or something.
hyper scrap this game or scrape whatever that other Ubisoft game that they released and put out. I hope they find like something for X Defiant, because I said it was like, it felt like a template placeholder.
It's got potential, though.
Yeah, it has potential because the gameplay was mostly there, but I just felt the world was kind of flat. And I always think back to when I first played the alpha, and then I think you were playing it at the time too, and you were like, "Oh, do you like the Far Cry stuff and the Ghost Recon stuff?" And I'm like, "The fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah,
and you're like, "Oh, it's very subtle," but.
And I think that's where some of this rabid fan base comes from, because people are attached to that Tom Clancy's and the Far Cry's and those franchises. They are attached to them, and the character and the mix and the dynamic of like this is our Smash Brothers in shooter form. Like, so I think there's something possibly there. It's just at a certain point in time, like you can't let this keep going.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you just gotta kill it.
All right. So what we're planning on watching. So again, unfortunately for me, it's very shallow watching. Angela and I are almost done with Burn Notice. I talked about Reacher, didn't I? Or
we talked about Reacher. Yeah, he's a big dude.
Streamlined 2 seasons.
Tom Cruise is tiny.
Yeah. And we're still watching like Neighborhood and Tracker. There's a new show on Paramount or CBS. I can't keep track of what it's called anymore. Tracker. I watched a good chunk of like some of the NCAA tournament, the men's and the women's. Baseball started, so I have been watching a little bit of baseball. Yeah, not for the White Sox.
Yeah, no, it's still spring training for the White Sox. So
yeah,
don't worry.
Tigers swept the White Sox.
I know and I literally I watched the first game, but I switched to the Detroit feed just so I can hear good announcing.
Yeah, so you can hear your buddy. Yeah.
You said we won,
I have.
So I'm like, oh, cool.
I put it on the Facebook group, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I've fallen back on the Destiny thing, but they're showing some things that look intriguing right now for me as a loyal player of a game for 10 years, to the point where there's a couple things that I'm just kind of like playing, and they're doing this little trickle thing of like, okay, this is this week, and then you can use this in Final Shape, and then we have the Into the Light thing. They are in full-blown damage control, and I'm able to take good advantage of it. And if you're listening and you've ever, I think I put something in Facebook, if you've ever thought about, want to return, want to try it out, April 9th to June 4th is your time. Like, there's no risk. I've said before, like, spend $10 on this season, see if you like it, decide if you want to play, and go and kind of move on through that. And if you don't like it, good, you gave it a $10 try. This is a $0 try.
Yeah,
you can. They announced this week you can log on to Destiny for the first time. You can skip the free to play like hour and a half introduction. You can walk right into this little new social space room that they made, and pick up a chest that makes you 1800 power, which is like 10 power base below what I am as an avid player. There's 12 weapons that are going to be best in class. There's a horde mode style event that's free. There's 2 exotic missions that they're bringing that's free. They're teasing some raid boss gauntlet thing. They talked about it for like a minute, where it sounds like that you're just going to be able to just go in and fight raid boss after raid boss after raid boss after raid boss, and they have like 10 or 12 of these raid bosses. Hopefully it's some of the ones that they put away in the vault that they bring the bosses back out. But they're doing everything they can to get people to play and then hopefully order or purchase Final Shape. Like that's that's what they're doing. They're getting the viewers. I just don't know if it's going to turn into players. Like, these live streams are getting 150 to 200,000 concurrent viewers per stream.
But how many of them
Like,
are just hate watching is the question.
I don't know, but everybody's like, oh, this could have been one live stream. Yeah, okay, but every Tuesday for 3 Tuesdays in a row for about 45 minutes to an hour, they kind of control the gaming internet.
They need the revenues, so if they give people to do a Twitch sub during their Twitch stream.
I don't know. I mean, the hope is maybe they'll buy some Eververse stuff, or I think the ultimate hope is that they buy Final Shape.
They're hoping for bits. Like they're hoping someone just throws a bit.
But it's interesting. But I'm not kidding. Like, if ever even remotely thinking about it as, just give it like an hour, give it 2 hours, and if you like it, great. You can do some of the cool stuff. If you don't like it, okay. Like, I'm just recommending it's the easiest entry level that I can recall them ever doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I've been farming a couple weapons. I think yesterday I was just being a lazy luff, and I think I did I did a lost sector thing that you can farm on a high level. I think I did it like 30 times, like hoping for a weapon drop. I got it, but it took a while. So I could be persistent when I want to be, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for the most part, that's kind of it. Baseball, a little bit of the NCAA tournament. I got back from the water park. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll know this. I'm still adjusting to the concepts of saying this, and I don't think Michael signed into Facebook or not, but I'm going to be a grandfather.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. By the time I'm 41, I'll be a grandfather. So my oldest son, not my daughter, not my youngest son, my oldest son.
This would be a different story if it was the daughter. Like, you would have a different tone, I feel like.
Yeah. My 24, soon to be 25-year-old son, and his wife are expecting. So near the end of October, I believe. So cool. That was the big Easter. I've known this since like the middle of February, but it wasn't my place to publicly announce anything. But now that's been publicly announced, I can announce it. So but that's it.
Savage just said, Grandpa Dave. Damn, you're just so old now, Dave.
I think Angela looked something up, because we have an Irish background. I think it's Grampy. Like, Grampy. In terms of, because I do not want to be called Gramps. I'm not opposed to Grandpa, but at the same time, when you start getting into great grandparents and other grandparents, like, it can get confusing for the kids.
Grandpa Dave, though, could be Grandpa Dave, or you just prefer the small child just calls you David.
I don't like anybody to call me David. Very, very few people can call me that.
So for me, playing and watching, I'm still on my PS3 run. I finished X-Men Origins Wolverine. I didn't get the platinum because you have to play the game twice, and as fun as that game is, the story is kind of dog water, and I just couldn't play that game 2 times in a row. So I moved on. I'll probably get that platinum because I just have to play the game 1 time on hard mode. I'll do that later on. Take some time away before I jump back into that game. So right now I am working on Jack and Dexter collection on the PS3, as well as Deadpool on the PS3, because those are games that Jack and Dexter, first time really playing through it since the PS2 era, and then Deadpool requires 2 playthroughs, but I already did a playthrough previously, so I picked up my save. Luckily, PlayStation Plus for the PS3 still works, and my save I was able to pull down from the cloud.
What the hell?
From like 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so that made my life a little easier. So those are the 2 games that I'm currently working on. Continuing X-Men 97, I wish I could binge it, but it's 1 episode a week.
I haven't gone back yet.
So watching that. Delicious Dungeon is also another show that's on once a week. That's on Netflix. So that's almost done. I think it is. I think it's on episode 12. 13 comes out on Thursdays. So for the most part, it's just been that. Tried watching baseball. It was too painful. Couldn't do it. It's just super frustrating because I knew the team was going to suck this year, and I don't really care about sports that much, but they are pathetic this year. It's really difficult.
Might be the best time for me to come see a White Sox game so I can get the stadium cheap.
It maybe, yeah. I mean, it just means when you leave the stadium, it's just extra dangerous because there's no one there leaving the park. There's no safety.
It'll feel like home.
Yeah. You'll be like, this is Detroit 2004.
I still find that super fascinating, like sidetrack. So, like more behind the curtain, like me and you, like walking around LA with other people that aren't
fucking hilarious, Dave.
that aren't from major towns. Like, like I love some of the, some of those guys. They're dear friends of mine, but the Emras of the world that live in like middle of New York, like not the middle of New York City,
no,
like
I think
the middle
it's
of New York,
right?
Yeah, or something. Yeah, maybe. And then, Andy, like rest in peace, obviously. Unfortunately for his
suburban
passing. But
Arizona,
suburban Phoenix, Tempe.
Glenn is like suburban,
even Josh, like
Milwaukee.
Josh goes into the city, but he comes out of the city.
Yeah.
Like, but Josh was in the mid tier, but like we would just, all right, we're just gonna walk on the other side of the street, or we're just gonna walk right through this person. We're just gonna put our head down and ignore them, and they're all like, "Oh, that's so annoying." We're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, just when we're like picking an Airbnb and everyone's like, "Oh, that neighborhood looks dangerous," and we're just like, "What? That neighborhood looks fine." Like Jesus, like that every time that would crack me up, especially just walking to the convention.
When you and I went by ourselves, you and I showed you. I'm like, hey, this is how much this costs. This is why I found it. This is what it is. You're like, cool. It's got a bathroom, a shower, a kitchen, two separate bedrooms. I'm game.
Yeah.
It was the upstairs of somebody's house.
Yeah, that was probably the only thing I was like. It was kind of uncomfortable because there was no door separating the floors.
But it didn't affect us.
No, not at all. There was just that was always funny because like for the most part, just like me and Dave grew up in a city that has had rough patches. That usually, as long as you keep your head down and mind your own fucking business, you'll be fine.
Yeah. What are you looking at, huh?
Yeah. Not even a huh. Just like keep walking. So watching the White Sox has been painful. I think that's where I was.
Yeah.
It's just baffling because like this is going to probably be the worst year in the franchise's history, and at the same time, the owner's like, I want $2 billion for a new stadium, and we'll probably get the $2 billion for a new stadium, because the other option is they move to Nashville, and I will not be following the team to Nashville in terms of like, they're still the White Sox as soon as they're named the Nashville,
the Nashville Country Sox.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just like, okay, I'm just not watching baseball anymore.
Right.
Like that's just where it ends, and I will be fine. Like I'm not dying.
And that's unfortunate for a team that's had had World Series success this decade.
Yeah, or
right.
2005. So it's been 20 years.
Yeah. Century. This century.
Sorry. Yeah. They started hot in the previous century in the early 1900s, and then it's been downhill. Yeah. So I do like the concept for the new stadium that have been floating around. Like it's in a good part of the city that like currently has a gigantic empty lot that could be filled with a stadium. That would be nice. But at the same time, I don't want to reward this owner with a new stadium. Tax dollars at whatever. Taxes already suck in Chicago. It can't get worse.
That'd be the third time in your lifetime the White Sox has changed stadiums, though. That's a lot. Yeah.
Comiskey to at least the previous one when they went Comiskey to the Cell, it was just across the street.
Right.
But this would be the move into like downtown Chicago.
It's just crazy. Like Comerica Park's 24 or 25 years old to where the Tigers play. There's no conversation about a new stadium. Like nothing.
Yeah. Is the Joe Louis still around?
No.
Okay, was that finally torn down, or is it still?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if it's torn. It's just not in use.
Yeah, no, it's not in use. I just wonder because it's right across the street from the Little Caesars one, right?
A little farther.
A little further.
That,
okay, because I thought they were like
next
to
a couple
each other.
miles.
Okay.
The Ford Field and Little Caesars are next to each other.
Oh, okay. I must have got them confused.
And then Comerica's like very, very close, like all in like a 1.5 square mile block of each other.
Okay, so like reasonable walking distance.
Yeah. Like pretty much, if Angela and I are going down there, it was the arena was demolished in 2020.
Okay.
Joe Louis was demolished in 2020. If Angela and I go down there for a baseball game, basketball game, hockey game, an event, I think we're going to, like, for the most part, we park in the same complex and structure. We can go 6 different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how close it is.
Okay.
So, but again, keep in mind, Angela and I aren't opposed to walking a mile.
Yeah, well, the new place that they might move to, it would mostly be like you're taking public transit, but it's at least the L, so it would be fine.
That's something that Detroit does not have. It's getting a little bit better with like a train down the middle, like a not a subway or a metro or anything like that, but like a trolley style thing. But the biggest problem that Detroit has in terms of public transportation as a whole is just the sheer size of the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too big. It's not as populated. Like, obviously, there's more people that live in Chicago in a much more denser square footage. And Detroit's footprint is just freaking gigantic.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Detroit could probably be broken up into a little bit more than what it's covering. But yeah, that's all for playing and watching. We did get some questions in the chat, though, Dave.
Okay.
I guess I'll be taking over from this part out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go use the restroom or something.
I'll just go through or Dave, you can read them. I'll go through.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Savage writes, can we get an MJC Wrestling Minute? What are your WrestleMania 40 predictions? See, I can read algorithm from wrestling.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Okay. I can pull up the card, but we could just you can ask Curry's questions as well because they're all going to be linked
and then
together.
Curry says, MJC, will The Rock turn on Roman now at SummerSlam, and will Cody prevail?
Okay, so Cody will win. He'll win the title. He'll finish his story. 2 years in the making. The fact that Cody's wrestling twice in one weekend is kind of funny. But yeah, Cody will prevail. I think The Rock will probably turn on Roman either Sunday to cost Roman the title, or he will turn on Roman Monday on Raw, basically like shaming him, and then they'll fight at SummerSlam. Because I think that's the only thing you can do. Like, once Roman leaves, he has to feud with someone right away, or he has to like kind of fuck off for a while. He's been a champion for like 3 years. You can't, you have to like have him disappear for a while or immediately feud with The Rock. So The Rock will turn babyface, even though it'll be very weak to do that. I'm actually more excited for this WrestleMania specifically because it's the first WrestleMania without Vince McMahon and without Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn is he's the director producer for all like the camera shots and the production overall. He left quietly after Vince McMahon got taken out of the company, and he was a trash director. Like, he loved to do like 1,000 camera cuts in like any sequence. And since he's left, they've done so many long camera shots. It's been kind of crazy. If you go to wrestling TikTok, there's literally like TikToks of like, oh my God, it was one camera shot for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that's like mind blowing to wrestling fans. So there's a good chance that the production value is just going to be amazing just from that aspect. And then you're not going to have the Vince McMahon creepiness involved. And then you're not going to have the Vince McMahon like ideas involved, because famously Vince McMahon has been known to flip-flop ideas throughout the day, and you can kind of see that when the match finally happens, because you'll have like an outcome that makes no sense, or you'll just have wrestlers that generally just kind of look confused about what they're doing because they might have found out 5 minutes before the match what's going to happen in the match. So
I hope the women's division gets to flourish too.
Oh, it's like it's got like 2 big marquee matches that will probably be able to set themselves up for like the next year or two.
Triple H still is he still involved?
Yeah, he's head of creative, so this is his first WrestleMania in charge of the creative.
And is Stephanie still involved? Because she's married to Hunter Hearst, right?
So she's not involved. So kind of around Vince McMahon, when he did his hostile takeover after he got let go the first time, he took over hostilely. And when that happened, she bailed from the company. Okay. And right now, you don't want anyone with the last name McMahon on wrestling because of all the allegations and stuff that Vince McMahon...
Just take his name.
Yeah, at this point, she needs to come out and be like, I'm Stephanie Levesque.
Henley.
That would probably help a little bit, because as far as I know, like, she might have been aware of what Vince McMahon was doing, but she wasn't necessarily a part of it because a lot of the locker room do like her. So, like, I feel like fans in the locker room would embrace her coming back, but yeah, she would need a name change if she was coming back. And Triple H also needs to, like, if he's still going to be in charge, he kind of needs distance from that family, like, from that family name.
But he's married to her, right?
Yeah. Like, because last time when all this stuff happened, and they asked Triple H, are you aware of what happened? He's like, no, I found out when I read the article that you guys. It's like, you really? Impossible. But yeah. This WrestleMania should be good. I still don't know if I'm a fan of it being 2 nights.
Okay.
It's like...
When is it?
Saturday from like 7 to 10, and then Sunday 7 to 10.
Gee, 6 hours?
Yeah, 6 hours. I don't know what I
And what is it? What is this on? Peacock?
Peacock. Yep. It's going to be on
Peacock Premium or
just regular Peacock.
so like I have Peacock, so I could
You could watch it and
indulge in
you'll be
this.
fine.
Okay.
It's a lot of wrestling. Even I get tired. But it is better than what they used to do, where they would do a 7-hour show to break it over 2 nights. But it's
Man, I feel like when I was a teenager, pay-per-views were like 7:30 to like 11.
They were like 2-3 hours. Maybe if it was a big show, it would be 4. Like WrestleManias were 4 hours. And then at a certain
6 to 10
point,
or something like that,
as soon as they went to taking over football stadiums, it turned into these like gigantic 6-7 hour shows. And I don't like that. 2 nights seems like that's at least a better balance. But I basically had to tell Sarah, like, hey, guess who's taking over the living room for 2 nights in a row? And she casually likes wrestling, but it's still one of those things where I'm just like,
You have an amazing partner, just saying.
I mean, like, but there would be no difference between like, hey, it's football Sunday, and like.
Yeah, but Angela enjoys football.
Sarah likes wrestling enough. Like, there's enough wrestlers that she enjoys, but there are going to be a couple matches where she's like, I'm going to put Final Fantasy on the MacBook. Can you turn the PS5 for remote play? And it's like, yeah.
Just got to buy her a Portal, man.
I've been tempted, but the MacBook technically has a nicer screen.
Okay.
And the controller does work with it, so it's like, if the Portal drops down to like 120, I think I would bite in a heartbeat. Yeah. I've been looking at the Backbone, but I'm
not impressed with it on the phone.
Yeah, I that's why I think I would probably lean towards a Portal.
I really need to try remote play on my ROG is what I need to do. But at that point in time, like I've been talking back and forth about it. Most of the time I use my ROG as I don't want to come down here to play. So that's what I use my ROG for. If I don't want to come down here to play, I'm not going to remote play on my ROG on the couch with 10 feet in front of my PlayStation.
Yeah. You should just do it just for science. Dave, do your next Destiny thing on your ROG. Oh, no, you already do it on your ROG probably because you'd play PC.
Yeah, but I haven't tried to do it like a Destiny raid with my 5-man team with my my crew that I raid with like Bluetooth headphones and Discord at the same time on my ROG. I haven't tried that.
Should probably test out the ROG a little bit, or just play a PS5 game. Hey, Joker came out for Suicide Squad. I hear a lot of people are playing it right now.
Yeah. You can't even play them.
Yeah, no, yeah. But yeah, that's all the questions, Dave, as far as I know.
All right. Yeah, so a little shorter show today, so we're going to wrap it up here. You can follow us on Twitter at Digital Days Pod. You can follow Michael at The First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. Facebook group and Discord server are both linked in the show notes. Please consider joining those. I would more prioritize making that jump to Discord. If you're scared, like, come on over. This is a very welcoming, embracing group in our Discord. We can kind of explain things to you and kind of show you the way. It's a lot easier to group up, voice chatting with all the crossplay stuff and all the games, Xbox, PC, PlayStation that are supporting this functionality. It works really, really well. It's segmented off into main discussion, collection, each game, whether they're dead or not. So it's I really like the format that we have going in our Discord. So please kind of consider that. I understand that everybody kind of likes their Facebooks and their Twitters, but eventually over time those things are I think Discord is gonna kind of hopefully take over like a majority of that functionality. So please consider checking that out. And everything else is linked in the show notes. Discord's in the show notes. Facebook group's in the show notes. YouTube channel, Twitch channel, everything's in the notes. Check it out. If you've been watching us live, thank you. If you've listened and downloaded, thank you. Please remember to consider leaving a review and check your Prime subscription. Like, just if you don't watch us live, we don't have to be live for you to resubscribe to us, but you do have to go through 2 screens to do it. You can do it on mobile, but it doesn't renew every 30 days. So please just consider checking that. And obviously everything else, Patreon's there, PayPal's there. So be sure to check that out. You got anything else, Michael?
Hollow Knight Silksong was rated in South Korea, and the Xbox page has popped up for it. So, hey, maybe that game's coming out soon.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, that's all I have. Literally, I just saw the story right now. I was like, oh, shit, Hollow Knight. The one game that prevented Dave from winning our Fantasy Critic from last year.
Because I thought it would come out.
I know, yeah. I got double points because it didn't come out and won the league.
Yeah.
So, it worked out.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.